Hey everybody and welcome to November's edition of Board Game Buys. So this is a series where I take a look at all the games I purchased during the month. I've got a big range of games this time, ranging from absolute classics to brand new off-the-shelf games and also some really obscure, relatively unknown games as well. Before I get into the game, I just want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, Kienda.co.uk, a great website where you can get some great games at great prices, some really great loyalty schemes, and also if you use my discount code Kienda5 at the checkout, then you can get £5 off any order of £40 plus. But let's move on to the games here. So as you can see, the first game I've picked up is Goa. So this is a very much out of print game, very hard to get hold of. This is one of the old classic Rudiger Dawn games. I've never played this one. This has been kind of a grail game to me, and I think recently I discussed that I was looking at picking this one up, willing to pay that premium to get this one on my shelves and get it played. This one has a really weird auction system where you have this grid of tiles and you're basically route building but bidding for these tiles along the way. You've got some engine building on your board here as well. This one looks like it's going to tick all the boxes for me and these old kind of classic colonial games, which are kind of my favourite. So I'm very excited for this one. I think I've got sky high hopes for it, and hopefully it's going to be as good as I think it will be, because Rudiger Dawn is pretty much just gangfire hit after hit after hit for me. And going through kind of a more meaty Euro game is just going to be definitely a change of pace. I'm just really interested in what it's going to have to offer, because I know a lot of kind of die-hard Euro gamers have a lot of good things to say about Goa, so naturally I'm looking forward to getting some to the table. So that's the first game, Goa. Second up, I have Hokkaido. So Hokkaido is actually, I believe, the second version of another game called Honshu. This one is a relatively simple kind of tableau building game, or almost like a tile placing game, but with cards, as you're playing these symbols, building up this grid and getting points in different ways. And then there's a lot of games that use this mechanism now, where you're covering up cards. Games such as Circle the Wagons or the Sprawlopolis, Agropolis games. Looking forward to see if this one does hold up to those and if it's as good. So I'm kind of going into this one somewhat blind, don't know too much about it, but who knows, sometimes these filler games go down a lot better than expected. Next up, I have Pongi. Talking about unknown games, I'd never heard of this one at all. I just picked this one up as another blind buy. And it's actually a weird combination of mechanisms you can't really see from the box here, but this is a simple small box card game, which is kind of has an element of trick taking to it, but also set collection. It kind of reminds me of a trick taking for sale. So yeah, it's kind of a mishmash of mechanisms. I have played it, so hopefully thoughts will be coming out on this one too. I'm not sure if I'll do a designated review for it. Maybe I will. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. But yeah, that's Pongi, a really weird little filler game. Also have Treelings. This is a very beautiful looking game, as you can see here. I think this one only came out last year in 2020. This one is a simple drafting game as you're building up these columns of cards in different colours and then trying to have the biggest of those columns, and you can actually interfere with other players, because if your leftmost coloured of tree towers over your opponents, then they actually don't score anything and you'll score yours. And it's about kind of striking a balance here. You can either basically draft from an array of cards in the centre. You can either take all the same colour or take one of each available colour. So yeah, very simple, very light. I have played it, as I said, and hopefully again I'll share my thoughts on that one. Not sure if I'll do a group collection of reviews or get a designated review for that one out. Also here we have Dragon Master. I had never heard of this game as well, so a bit like Pongi, this one is pretty much a blind buy. I think this one is somewhat, it might even be the same designer. Oh, no, this is actually a classic Reiner Knizia game. I didn't even know this was a Knizia game. This one is a game where you're basically building this grid of cards. It's a strictly two-player game, so one person's kind of being the rows and one person's being the columns, and then you're trying to score as many points as you can using that classic system of only your lowest of those 4 columns or 4 rows is going to be your score. So it looks pretty clever actually, and I'm somewhat optimistic about this one. I also have Design Town. So this is, I believe, the kind of predecessor to Flip City, a game that's I know got some reasonably good praise. I don't know too much about the mechanisms or how it plays. I think it's a relatively light pushy luck game, but again, sometimes these games that I don't know much about are good, sometimes they're terrible, and I suppose the jury is still out for this one because I haven't yet to play it. So that is Design Town. Also, we have Docmus. So Docmus, I'm actually somewhat optimistic about this one as well. So this is, I suppose, a route building game, as you have all these different tiles here in this grid. And this is a very dynamic board state where you can slide these boards along, you can rotate them. They even wrap around, and I think the idea is you're trying to build routes with these, with your basically little tents here, or trying to deploy them next to these different temples on the board. And depending on what you do and your coverage on the board, you're going to get points in different ways. It looks pretty stripped back and pretty simple, which tends to be a good thing for me. I think it has some kind of drafting system as you're drafting the power you can use, and that also determines the initiative and what you do. So yeah, I think this one is actually quite promising. It does, if I didn't know this wasn't from a designer who isn't right at Knizia, I would have said this one almost looks like a Knizia design. It's kind of brings up feelings of those old classical route building, through the desert style games. So yeah, if it's if anything, that's praise in itself. So that is Docmus. Looking forward to trying that one. Going into some brand new games here now. So this is Savannah Park. So Savannah Park, brand new 2021 release from my favourite design duo, Kramer and Kiesling. This one is a family weight puzzly style game. As you're going to start on your player board with a whole bunch of animals, or these kind of hex tiles on your board, and then the idea is you're just picking up one of these tiles and then you're going to flip it over and place it somewhere else on the board. And you've got a very tight space here, so you're trying to build up these clusters of animals, and the bigger of those groups that you make, it means that the more points you can get, as long as you multiply them by the kind of drinking pools or the watering holes on that board as well. So it kind of has that King Domino scoring system. But I love the fact that sometimes you have control over what you do, you've got to leave gaps for things, and sometimes other players will have a bigger say than you might want them to. Very accessible. I have played some quite a bit, and thoughts will be coming out soon. I've actually already recorded my review for Savannah Park. Sticking on to newer games, have Witchstone here. So this seems to be a video designated to Rainer Knizia. This is Knizia's latest design, or it's actually a co-design with this other chap here, Martino Chiacchiara. This one is very much a point salad style game. It has a different tone to a lot of Knizia games here, but still as simple in its kind of approach. As you have a player board here which uses this ingenious system where you're placing tiles, trying to compound your actions to do lots of different mini games and get a ton of points in the process. And I think probably by the time you've watched this video, then my review of Witchstone should be up. So yeah, this is actually a really kind of anticipated game for me. I was really looking forward to getting this one to the table. And spoiler alert, I wasn't disappointed. So a very, very nice game. That is Witchstone. Going to an older game again now, we have Fearsome Flaws. If you see this illustration, you probably instantly think of Freedom and Freeze. This one is another Freedom and Freeze game, and I have to say Freedom and Freeze is quickly becoming just a must-check-out designer. So whatever he brings out now, I have to at least look at, because his games just feel different to anything else, and to be honest, everything of his I've played before has pretty much been a hit, with the exception of the odd one or two. But this one is a pretty simple game, as I believe you're racing to get out. You have all different pieces, they move in different ways, and you're trying to evade this monster and use different kind of terrain on the board to move around faster or to push things around. So it looks quite interactive. I think it scales, it has a big range of what it scales, 2 to 7 players. That's quite interesting. So it could be a gamier game that could appeal to a bigger player count. So yeah, intrigued by this one. Not sure if it will deliver, but who knows? Freedom and Freeze always seems to impress me. So that is Fearsome Flaws. Also, I have Fiesta Mexicana. So out of all these games, this is the game I know the least about. This is actually a relatively new game. I think it only came out in 2020. And I believe this is another bidding auction style game. No idea what you're doing here. I've not even looked at the rules. But I know for a fact this one has received no buzz whatsoever. Nobody talks about it. And whenever a game's like that, I always kind of, gives me the bigger incentive to check it out and to hopefully for it to be good, so that I can sing its praises and tell people to check out an undiscovered gem. So I'm always intrigued to try things that not other people are talking about for that reason. So Fiesta Mexicana, who knows, this could be good. We shall see. The penultimate game I'm going to talk about is... This is Free Ride, or this is the German version. I'm not going to pronounce that. Another Friedman Fries game. This is his brand new one from 2021. So as you can see here, this is a train game, and I absolutely love the cover to this box. It looks like an old train poster. And this is, I have played this game, so again, I've recorded my review of this one, which will be dropping relatively soon. You have this map on the board here. Building routes almost in a Ticket to Ride style. You try to make up the fulfill these contracts by visiting different cities, but it has some really cool player interaction where if you build routes for the first time or establish those routes, then there will be your colour, then it will cost other people to use those railway lines, at least the first time, and money is a very tight resource, so doing so, you can't just make those decisions without thinking of the repercussions, because again, money is so valuable and can just result in pure points. Very streamlined, very slick, simple game. So yeah, thoughts to be shared on that one very shortly. And the final game that we've picked up this month is an older Alexander Pfister classic. This is Broom Service. So this one is certainly different to the Alexander Pfister games you'd expect nowadays, where you have a ton of things going on, you're getting upgrades and the multi-use cards. This one is a rather simple pick up and deliver game. As you're traveling around this map, you're witches and you're trying to basically drop off these potions at these different towers, but it has a weird trick-taking, push your luck style method of taking your actions. So you can either take these brave actions or these cowardly actions, and the idea is if you take these brave actions, then you get a much powerful version of it, but it means that other people following you can choose to basically cancel the action out if they have the matching card. So every round you're drafting 4 cards out of a possible 10, and then if other people do the same things, they can potentially trump you. But if you take the cowardly action, you take a weaker version of it, but you've got it so that no other person can mess with you. So that's kind of the core system here, and the rest of it is basically simple pick up and deliver. And so yeah, this one very different again to the standard Alexander Pfister games that you'd normally expect to see nowadays, but I know this one's got somewhat of a following. So yeah, that just concludes this video. So a bunch of games here, so hopefully there's something here that will pique your interest and you're looking forward to seeing. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for those reviews dropping, because I'm sure over the next couple of months I'll be looking at getting all of these reviewed. So that just concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. Again, remember to check out kienda.co.uk for some great deals on board games. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.